Good morning, Unity. If you can, all of you do me a favor. Take out your phone. See if there's a message from the divine. Anyone have one? No? Go ahead and silence it and put it in your pocket. Let's go ahead and get on our feet and get started with some music. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. I'm not holding it in anymore. I'm gonna shout it out loud. I understand now what I'm here for and what this life is about. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand, lending a hand. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. There's a voice that I've heard for years. I learned to keep it inside, but now it's coming in loud and clear. I want a deeper light. Love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. Love is about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand, lending a hand. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. There's a lot of words in that song. All right. Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometime come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I'll wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I'll wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place You are the place. We are the place where God shows up. I am the place. You are the place. We are the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
Thank you, Unity Band. Thank you, Ari. Top of the morning to you, Unity. Let's bless that Unity candle with that great affirmation. There's only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God, the good, omnipotent. There's a wonderful old Irish saying that, I think is so true, and it is, without faith in your heart, you can do nothing. Without faith in your heart, you can do nothing. And I think a lot of times when, the crisis du jour hits, it's very easy to have these great spiritual feelings when you're in a church on Sunday, but when you're, as it were, driving on 460 and you hit that pothole in life, as Pamela was telling the story about Trinity, remember oh my goodness, and Buddha, the little bobblehead Buddha was shaking his head no, but there it went. It's very easy to forget those spiritual principles. But when you remember them, as Pamela's story was, Raphael, Gabriel, and Michael show up in very interesting forms. One was a pizza guy, but shows up, and I am the place where God lives. It comes through us. Let's just go into prayer a moment. Dear Spirit, thank you for our many, many blessings. Help us to be guardians of these spiritual truths and to remember them when we do hit the potholes of life. Thank you for Unity in the Seven Hills. May it continue to be a city on a hill with a powerful spiritual message, not just for Lynchburg, but for the world beyond. And for this and so much more, we say thank you and amen and amen. If you are new, I'm not going to ask you to stand up. If you come into a church, first thing they do is embarrass you, make you stand up and all that. But seriously, we have a packet of information which can really explain what Unity is about, what Unity in the Seven Hills is all about. So please, if you would speak to one of our greeters, Bob, Lisa, or Vern, or myself, we'll get you that package. There is something going on in this spiritual community virtually almost every day, both online or here, or a lot of things which are hybrid, both here and online, which can really help you in your spiritual walk. And then, if you're new, we hope you'll join us downstairs. Fellowship is a really important thing here. I know there are a lot of churches. You're out the door. The mass is ended. Go in peace. And out the door. But this is a different congregation. We are a congregation downstairs full of fellowship and food. And today we also have something very special given St. Patrick's Day. We have Paula and Sandy Mills here with us. Celtic music and beyond. I know it's going to be wonderful downstairs. So please join us. Each week we go through one of Unity's basic principles, and we're now on the third principle. So let's remind ourselves how we got here. First principle, one presence, one power, and God, about that loving God, not about to zap us, I don't know. It was funny when I went through my atheist agnostic period. I still would say, I'm walking to the bus stop. If I hit an odd number of cracks, then it's going to be a bad day. I'm going to get zapped. If it's an even number of cracks, it's going to be a good. I don't know where that. You say you're atheist, and next thing you know, you're counting the numbers of cracks and all that. But that it's so hard, I think, for a lot of us to get out of that notion of God as sort of the great zapper. Remember the Big Bopper? Well, the great zapper and is here to turn you into a crispy critter for all eternity or whatever, instead of that loving presence. And to remember that we are born blessed and remain blessed. We were born fine the first time. And then we get to Unity's second principle, which is even, more good news, is that it's not just a God up there or whatever, but more importantly almost, it's a God inside of us. That divine spark is inside of us. We call it the Christ presence, but it's been called by so many. It's been called Buddha nature, Ein Sof, Krishna, Ram. Aldous Huxley called it the perennial philosophy. It's been called so many things, but it's that divine spark that is inside of us. And the neat thing is that's who we truly are. Not our fears, not our worries, not the mistake we may have made in 1992 or whatever. That's who we are. And then we get to that third point, which is where we are today, is the creative power of our thoughts. Our thoughts are so important. As that old Unity song says, our thoughts are prayers and we're always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. And as I've shared here, and I'm not blaming my family at all, but they were really hit. One, they were really hit by the Great Depression. And two, I was, as I've shared here, I was adopted into a Jewish family that lost members during the Holocaust. So you can imagine, if anything good happens, this too shall pass. And it was very much negative thinkers. And to come into Unity and realize the importance of our thoughts. Why don't we say this together? And I think it's really true. Thoughts have creative power to determine events and attract experiences. They really honestly do, as I've been, saying to my kids, when sitting down with homework and all that, and I'll get, I can't do this and all. It's impossible. To say, as long as you think that, it's going to be impossible for you to be able to do that. When you can actually start thinking, well, it's going to be hard work, but we can master this, then it starts to be possible. Our thoughts are so important, and that law of attraction honestly does truly work, or the law of mind action, the thought and mind actually does produce after its kind. We are so thrilled with our youth and family ministry program. Some Sundays here it has really sounded almost like a Catholic church with the hubbub of the kids, which we love that noise. And we're so grateful for Crystal, who has done such a wonderful job with our youth and family ministries program. Why don't we bless the kids and send them on their way? They will be back at the end of the service to tell us what they have done. Let's bless our kids. You are a perfect child of God, and God and I love you just the way you are and wherever you are.
Let's get to our feet and sing them out. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Oh,
this bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let's affirm our mission statement together. Unity in the Seven Hills is a vibrant, inclusive community that inspires individual spiritual growth through education, prayer, heart connection, and sacred service. And our vision statement, we are an inclusive community centered in spirit, We embrace our divine oneness, power, and purpose. And again, we're so happy to have Paula and Sandy. Paula actually, when we came here and Reverend Nancy was the minister, and my daughter Robin was a little one, actually was taught by Paula, and now she's back for spring break from University of Massachusetts. If I could be the proud father, she got put to work back there, working on the broadcast team. So, as we say, no good deed around here ever goes unpunished. So here we are, and we've asked Sandy if please come on up, and if you could read us today's daily word, we really would be honored. And please, all come on down and join us. It's going to be a wonderful time of music and fellowship.
Word of the day is prayer. I feel the presence and power of God as I pray. In the revealing word, Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore described prayer as the most highly accelerated mind action known. This awareness is my comfort and assurance as I release my worldly concerns and feel the presence of God. As I pray, I immerse myself in the silence so that I can be still and know. From this place of deep communion, I relax and focus my attention on the divine ideas of life, love, wisdom, strength, and order, which are always mine to claim. As these spiritual truths flourish in my consciousness, thoughts of my troubles and worries fade from my mind. In the past, I may have believed prayer was a way of asking God for help and solace. Now I understand it as one of the best ways of helping and uplifting myself. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much. And now we're going to have special praise, but I would like to just add one thing before that. An idea came to us. Well, a congregant came up and with the idea and said, why not special praise? It's great to have Daniel and others, do music, but there's so many people in the congregation who could also give special praise. So we would love to work that in the service, to have special praise. If you feel, either it could be a song, it could be a prayer, it could be poetry, it could be dance, it could be whatever. Please come up to Daniel would probably be the best person to speak to, but if you can't find Daniel, come to me, and we'll line it up so you can do special praise during the service. So with that, let me turn it back to Ari.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight, it hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's all right with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day, a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, and someone else instead of me always seems to know the way. But then I look at you, and the world is all right with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day, a lovely day. On the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, and someone else instead of me always seems to know the way. Oh, then I look at you, and the world is all right with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day, a lovely day, a lovely day, a lovely day.
Thank you, Ari and the Unity Band. Thank you so much. Well, I don't mean to embarrass her, but Pamela Smith has brought to us, I think, such a wonderful group in the mystical and metaphysical group, which meets on Wednesdays, meets here in the church, but it's also online. But you say, well, I work, I can't see it. Well, we record it. We can get you the links to see these sessions. I think you pay big bucks and go to Maui or whatever, and it's right here. The sessions Pamela has led have been wonderful, but she's also brought in people who, I mean, have just been fantastic. For example, well, our own Christy Cook led a wonderful session this week on tapping. She brought in a few weeks ago, she brought in Heather Adams from Grounded Earth, who talked about crystals. I was so struck by her. She did 2 sessions. I was so struck by them. So, I mean, she started out with, 4 basic points. Let me go over very quickly because I think that they're really important. She says, Heather said, anything and everything that exists is really energy. And energy is always vibrating. Let me throw in one other thing from that, which we've been studying, Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth. Remember, Eric and very much the Unity pioneers talked about this, that behind this material, one, you have to come to a basic conclusion. Do you believe that the material world's all there is? There's no beyond or whatever. In Unity, we tend, that's not been the focus, shall we put it mildly, that there is a beyond. And the beauty is that this beyond is also within. And so the Unity pioneers, and I love the fact they didn't give it a fancy pants name. They just called it substance. Substance, divine energy, which flows from divine mind. And this stuff is infinite. Infinite supply, infinite abundance. And it's interesting, a lot of religions, what you're trying to do is getting out of the, I'll fly to heaven. You're trying to get out of the material world and get into where, get the great beyond, say, St. Peter's Gate or whatever. We're a little bit the other way. What we're trying to do is call more of this divine substance down into our lives right here, right now, right here in Lynchburg, as it were. And we're trying to call more of that down, and that it is infinite. But Heather, very much that everything that exists in the world is energy, and it's always vibrating. Heather's second point, she said, as humans, we also were energy and vibrating. However, our energy vibrations tend to be very unstable. Tend to be very unstable. You step on the scale in the morning, oh my God, or you hear the Dow Jones Industrial Average, we're fluttering in the breeze, as it were. I personally, before I look at my bank account, before I step on the scale, I say a little prayer and say, I am not that number. I am beyond that number. I'm not going to let a number either in the bank account like this define who I am. I know that I am one with the one, and then you can get on the scale, as it were. But I think she's so right. I mean, for many of us, we're all over the place. It really is a roller coaster ride. So then her third point was that crystals are highly organized solids that occur in repeating patterns. And after Heather, I went and looked up all I could see about pictures of crystals, models of crystals, and both on the molecular and the atomic level, they're beautiful. The organization in crystals, I mean, whether you believe in any mystical or metaphysical quality of crystals, just their material structure is really beautiful. And so what Heather was saying, crystals are highly organized solids that occur in repeating patterns, and they maintain stable and constant vibration levels of energy, and those energy levels are at a high level. Wow. So then she puts together and says a fourth point. If you have human beings who are all over the place, you have these which are at a high stable level. Introducing these stable high vibrational energy crystals into our fluctuations can only lead to, as it were, good things. It will lead us and help pull us to higher energy levels. It will also help to stabilize our vibration at a higher level. And then she started talking about, well, how do you work with crystals? And she talked about, through daily meditation, through chakra work, healing. She also talked about altar work in churches and home altars and things like that. She even talked a little bit about feng shui and all that. Let me add two concepts to this. Let me add, and again, if you're a little skeptical of crystals, don't worry about it. I mean, I also think I think this is such a powerful metaphor for what we're trying to do spiritually. First idea, Nikola Tesla, the great scientist. Tesla said he could describe anything in the universe by three words: energy, vibration, and frequency. All is energy, in line with what Heather is talking about. Vibration, again, in line with what Heather was talking about. Frequency. Tesla said if you set it at a low frequency, guess what you're going to be attracting? Low frequency. Again, the law of attraction. You're attracting low frequency. The goal is to set it up at a higher frequency. And one of the key things, inventions which Tesla added was, how to really get in certain frequencies. We take it for granted you tune the radio dial, but I mean, that took work to realize that you could set it at different levels and receive different channels, as it were. The second concept which I'd like to add into this is from Reverend Tony Boehm, an outstanding and leading Unity minister who's going to be coming here May 4th and 5th to do, I think, a very powerful weekend here. Tony talks about above the line and below the line, and about, where are we spiritually? And I have found this to be very useful, because you think of, levels of spiritual levels. There are some days where I'm right up there, I'm with the ascended masters for 2 milliseconds, and then all of a sudden something happens and I can feel the level sinking. I can feel it sinking. And what I think I'm getting better at is I can feel when I am sinking and say, Rick, you need to really do something and do it quickly, or you're going to fall through the line. Your energy level is going to go through the line, below the line. And then I'm usually pretty good at catching that. And and as it were, reversing the fall. So as Heather was talking, so many thoughts went off in my head. Yes, solid crystals. But I thought, isn't this what we're trying to do with all forms of spirituality? And that, yes, there are solid crystals, but there are also metaphysical crystals. Metaphysical crystals which are so powerful. Spiritual principles, such as Unity's 5 principles, just as Heather is talking about reaching and introducing these solid crystals into your life. When I can feel myself falling, which one of these Unity 5 principles can I start, can I start to pull in? Remember the Beatles song, I'm a loser, I'm a loser, I'm not going to, it's very, you're a minister, you have those, you can start to presume, and to be able to turn into those principles and to start pulling you out of that. If you're in a 12-step fellowship, AA or NA or Gamblers Anonymous, whatever, the 12 steps are essentially like your solid crystals. They're like they're metaphysical crystals which you can go into. It could be prayers, it could be poems, it could be nature. And quite frankly, when dealing with the economic side of life, it can be very useful to have these metaphysical crystals, as it were. They can be truths, for example, that we've been studying in as it were, in Eric Butterworth, in spiritual economics. So let me apply this Heather Adams type of framework or whatever to dealing with these, again, Jim Rosemergy, again, a unity minister, leading unity minister in our movement, wrote a wonderful book called Even Mystics Have to Pay Bills. Even mystics have to pay bills. So if we think we're going to somehow be able to get away from this, I mean that this is reality. And I would also caution you, go back to the Gospels and see how many times Jesus talked about money and talked about the economic and resource side of life. He was the one who said, I have come that they may have life and have it abundantly. He is the one who said it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And I think all too often we believe, well, he meant everybody else except me. Why? Well, you fill in the blank why it doesn't apply to you. Then when you start realizing, oh my God, I'm falling into below the line thinking, you can then quickly pull into these. So let's take, okay. So all energy, all things are energy in vibration, et cetera, their substance. We humans fluctuate like the flag in a breeze. So now we're dealing with economic realities or whatever. Let's deal with it on the Unity and the Seven Hills level. Deanna Morandi, our wonderful, incredible bookkeeper, I can't say thank you enough for all that you are doing, prepares a monthly statement. And she sends it to me. And there it is on my email. I open it up. I don't just open it up. I say prayers and everything else before I open it up. But let's say I didn't. I open it up. Oh my God, look at the numbers oh my God. Maybe Dina may make this, oh my God, just like stepping on the scale and the numbers, 3 pounds from where oh my God, you're running around like chickens with like a chicken with your head cut off. Instead of sinking into that, you remember, oh yeah, there is this thing called substance. There really is this. And I'm not going to be sucked into, just because one bad number, I'm not going to be sucked into this. I'm not going into, I'm not going into fear. There really is this divine spark inside of me. Remember we studied about Eric talking about that supply is, an infinite supply, but a lot of times the problem is it's on the demand side. Our demand is so, a lot of times is so low. Remember we talked about the Apostle James says it. You have not because you ask not. Sometimes that's translated into you have not because you believe not. All right, Rick, let's put this into work in dealing with what Deanna has just sent you. You look at it from spiritual principles. You say, it is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. There is the substance that can be pulled down. What can I do to get harmonized with the flow? What plans and what positive activities can I do to get harmonized with the flow? How can I be part of the solution instead of, as it were, part of the problem? And then you know what? You start, I don't know about you, but you start feeling really different about all this. You stop being like a chicken with your head cut off and you start feeling, wow, I have a lot of things to be grateful for. I have a lot of opportunities. And you know what's the neat thing, I think, for many, this is not true, I think, for the whole world. I mean, you read about even poverty in the United States, and particularly among children. And so what I'm going to say is, for most of us in this room, we don't need more material stuff. We have a credible amount of material stuff. It's almost like we'd been to IKEA and we bought whatever it is we were trying to assemble, and we've just dumped it on the living room floor, and there it is. And you pull in and you get instructions, which are first of all written in Korean. The second is, all it shows you is, vague pictures of things going together and one miserable little Allen wrench. And it's not that we need more stuff piled on our living room floor. What we really need is divine ideas to put it together. And the wonderful, incredible thing is that when we start getting in this flow, we start applying these principles, divine ideas start coming to us. Divine ideas come to us, and it's not so much that we need more stuff piled on our living room floor. We need more divine ideas about how to put it together. And those ideas honestly come. Wow, I have this idea how I think I could be running on a personal level. Let's say how I could be running a business, or how this could help thus and so, and it could be so radically different. Eric says on this, Eric writes, when you begin to see things from a high perspective of the ever-presence of God's substance, you will be in the creative flow of abundance, which will bless your life with sustained affluence, and it will also go forth from you as a prospering influence in the world. And Eric also points out, where Jesus talks about the kingdom of God being within us. The kingdom of God being within us, Eric says, Jesus was not talking about a place in space, but a dimension of our minds. And he was saying that within every person there is a limitless life, limitless substance, and an open access to infinite intelligence. Lack of any kind in human experience is the result of some sort of obstruction in the free flow of that creative process. And remember, we've talked about, I think Eric is so right so often, if there is a lack of the flow, it's because our foot is on the hose and the water's not flowing out. How do we get the foot off the hose? The way we do that is through giving. It's counterintuitive, but when we start becoming a giving type of person, then guess what? The flow starts happening, and boy, oh boy, do we start receiving. As Jesus said, give, and it will be given to you. Pressed down, running over, and shaken together will be poured out into your lap. When you begin to assume mastery, writes Eric, over your thoughts, you become attuned to the evolution that leads to unfoldment of the kinds of things and experiences you desire. And Eric also says, he loves it that in the Chinese language, the word for crisis is written with two characters. One means danger, and the other means opportunity. Danger, but opportunity. As Winston Churchill, I think, put it so well, he said, never waste a good crisis. Never waste a good crisis. If you feel either in an organization or on a personal level, that you're going through some sort of economic or financial or whatever crisis, it's cheer up, as the Apostle Paul said, all things work together for good for those who know and love God. I'd like to tell two stories, again, how this stuff can be applied to on the congregational level. Two stories, and they're real stories. The first is about a man called Father Gregory Boyle, who is a Jesuit priest. I had the blessing of meeting him at Unity Village, spending time with him. Father Gregory, we're roughly the same age. He's a little younger than me, but I mean, anyway, he graduates and he's in the Los Angeles diocese, and he gets assigned the poorest parish in Los Angeles. The poorest parish. His parish is always on the list of what are we, the archbishop, what are we going to close? I mean, his church is, always, right up there and everything else like that. It's right in the center of gangland. So there are gangland shootings left and right. He's having to do funerals, for teenagers and 20-year-olds, 2 or 3 of them a month. And Father Gregory says, God, between getting all these notices that everything's going to be closed down, and these funerals and the ganglands, and there has to be a solution. And he started going, and the reason he was at Unity, he read a lot of New Thought stuff. He read a lot of New Thought and incorporated it, incorporated it in. And that's one of the, the Fillmores, the last thing in the world the Fillmores were trying to do was found another denomination. What they were trying to do is spread certain ideas. So if you were Catholic, you would bring these ideas into the Catholic Church. If you were Methodist, you bring it there. If you're Jewish, you bring it here. And you would bring these principles, where you were. As a matter of fact, in the old days, the Fillmores used to hold, when they were on Tracy Street in Kansas City, they used to hold their services at 4 p.m. Why? Because they would hope that you were going to whatever you were going to at 10 o'clock or 10:30. Then you would come and study with them in the afternoon, and then you'd be able, obviously, the next thing you knew, it grew like wildfire. Next thing you knew, you had Unity and a de facto denomination. But that was not the original, the original game plan. So Father Gregory's incorporating. He's reading this stuff. So how can I do, divine ideas? I don't want to do something with just a government handout. And this idea comes to him because everybody, he's my homie. He's, and he's my bro. So he got this idea, homeboy bakery. Let's set up a bakery. There are all these abandoned buildings. It should be easy to get and people will donate. And the goal will be, we'll bake bread and all that, but we'll teach these kids how to work and how to be part of an organization. We'll teach them basic things like you show up on time and you don't punch out the customer. Basic things like that, and how to write a resume, how to do an interview. So next thing you know, he starts this up and it catches on. The interesting thing, he's doing, this is not the major reason, he's making money. He doesn't have to go to an archbishop or the government begging for money. It's drawing money. It's a profitable enterprise. It's a profitable nonprofit enterprise, as it were. And he's able to plow that back, and he's thinking, all right, homeboy, how about homeboy electronics, electronic repair and computer? And he's teaching, and he's doing this, and he's, it's really catching on. How about homegirls? We'll do homegirl, and we'll teach culinary arts, and it becomes a thriving success. It becomes a thriving success, doing an incredible amount of social good. But you know what? Also making money. Also, it all's getting plowed back. Father Gregory's not getting rich on this, but it is drawing resources in to do an incredible amount of good. I love find the restaurants which they have, you know, a lot of fashionable people now in Los Angeles support homeboy enterprises and come to the restaurant and all that. He told me this story. It's really, I thought it was funny anyway. Diane Keaton. Remember Diane Keaton? It was starred with in the movies with Woody Allen way back when, and now recently starred with Jane Fonda in several movies and all that. Well, anyway, Diane Keaton goes down to the restaurant, and she sits down, and as they joke, they say you get a waitress with attitude. So the waitress comes up, and she's serving. She looks at Diane Keaton, and she says, "I know you. I know you." And Diane wants to be mine. Oh, well, you, no, I know you. And she says, "Well, I have a face that looks like a lot of other people's face." "No, I know you," says the waitress. "When I was in prison last summer, you were in the cell opposite me." So, I mean, but I think Father Gregory's story is such a wonderful story about how applying these principles in what looked like poverty and destitution, and the place is going to be closed down and everything, it's flourishing, both doing social good, but I hate to say this as an economist, it's in the black. It's a very profitable nonprofit, as it were. Let me tell a second story. This one is about Reverend Ken Daigle, who's the minister, senior minister at Unity in San Francisco. And I think I have a very special relationship with Ken. And the reason is Ken and his husband have adopted several children, and one of them is Roma, and Roma and Therese are roughly the same ages. So we both Ken and I are trying to and Roma is, boy, she's a pistol and a cracker, just like Therese can be a pistol and a cracker. And so you hear running down the hall, "Roma, Therese, Roma, Therese." And during the banquets, I remember, and I was thinking, should I show, because I took videos or whatever. You know, ministers are not exactly the most lively, swinging, you know, this isn't the Wild and Crazy. So up on the dance floor, the first people up on the dance floor are Roma and Therese running around and everything else like that. Well, anyway, Ken, very, very interesting. Ken, back in the day, back in the 70s and early 80s, was in New York, very active in the gay scene, and contracted AIDS. And it was during a period, because I remember this so well, at college in New York, I had one of my very good friends, gay, and brilliant. Oh, Henry was brilliant. He was a Marshall Scholar to Cambridge University in England, came back, contracted something which nobody really knew what the heck it was, and when he was finally almost gone, he did die. I mean, finally they said, "Oh, it's AIDS." We knew very little about AIDS back then, and we had none of the medical protocols or the drugs which we have now. So this is the framework in which Ken contracted AIDS and was told about this. Essentially told, very much like *𝕬𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚. Essentially, there's not too much there's nothing medical science can do for you. You're probably going to die from this and die from it soon. It was at that point that Reverend Daigle became associated, started reading Unity stuff, and particularly the Myrtle Fillmore story and about her recovery. And he said, "All right, what do I have to lose?" He started following these principles and really put his heart and soul into it. And he survived. And he survived. And this experience just blew his mind away, because he thought he was a dead man. And so from this Ken decided to become a Unity minister, becomes a Unity minister, and becomes the minister of Unity in San Francisco. And I called him up recently and said, "I want to use you as a story, and I want to make sure I have the facts right and all that." He said, "Sure, Rick." I said, "Well, what was it like when you came to San Francisco?" He said, "Oh my God, this church, it was a poverty mentality, scarcity, lack, we can't, anything, we can't do it or whatever." He said, "The first thing we really had to work on was this poverty and scarcity consciousness. and lack and that negative thinking and et cetera, and blaming each other and everything else like that. And he said, we worked on that consciousness first, and we then were able to turn that around. We were able to turn that around. And then we got a dream. You know how San Francisco, they have pictures of townhouse, pretty, really nice buildings. And you always see pictures for San Francisco, and you can see the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. We said, we want to get one of those and have our congregation there. It seemed crazy, but they did it. They pulled it together. They were able to purchase such a place, which is beautiful. And they were able to become such an important part of the spiritual fabric of San Francisco. Last year, and again, this is the most important thing is spiritual transformation. But you know what? I've been noticing sometimes where spiritual transformation takes place, it also has an influence on the bottom line. Last year, Ken's church closed out 25,000 in the black. And this is, I was talking to a friend recently, and she said to me, yeah, when I was in his church, it was so powerful. I wanted to take my checkbook out and start writing, and give. And again, it's not just, it's time, treasure, and talent. And so what I'm getting at, I think both Father Gregory and also Reverend Ken really show congregations where when these principles are applied, things can really happen. I mean, thank God we're nowhere in a situation of where Father Gregory found his parish, nor are we, I think, in where Ken was. But to see that things honestly, truly can be turned around and different. Eric Butterworth writes, when we face life with that robust faith, we can know that we will develop the keys to peace and plenty because we need them. An economic crisis, too, is an opportunity for growth. Let's go into prayer a moment. Dear Spirit, thank you for this thing called substance and this flow of divine ideas. We know that unity in the seven hills is in the upward, forward, progressive progress of spirit, and that the mark of success is upon us. We know that the law of attraction, law of mind action are true. We know that you said, I have come that they may have life and have it abundantly, and that it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And we know and trust that we are in that flow, and that the best is yet to come. Thank you, and amen, and amen. Thank you, and God bless.
So blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Please take a deep breath in and slowly